So here we are, another day of Comic-Con at home. Ian Alley Seals of Rare Earth Comics with my good buddy, Jeff Tingley.
Hello.
So thank you for coming out tonight. I love how Jeff has flooded himself with all the light that he could muster in his apartment and still looks like a denizen of the dark. I mean, do you just extrude an aura of shadow? Golf!
No, it's one of my superpowers.
Okay, got it. Much like a character from a series we're going to be doing. What's that character?
Dark Wraith.
Dark Wraith. Sorry, I'm sorry. That's a spoiler alert on what's going on today. We're going to jump on that. So anyway, we did a interview with Jeff Tingley earlier on about his fantastic series Heretic X, and as people have been watching your video, the book has been selling online. So
Awesome.
congratulations. For those of you who've bought copies of Heretic X, you're going to enjoy them. If you haven't, go to the Rare Earth Comic Store and buy it. But anyway, let's go to what we're going to talk about today. So we've been doing mostly in this interview series with Rare Earth Comics, talking about people's work, which is perfect. That's what we're here to do. But I thought that it might be kind of interesting for the people watching these videos to get a little glimpse into how we make comics, especially how you guys draw the comics. And so we better do that than Jeff Tingley right here. And so I have the first statement I'm going to make, Jeff, before we jump into this is, how long have you been working at Rare Earth Comics?
2006.
Okay.
Does that sound about right?
So 2006.
Yes.
How have we not worked on a project together?
We keep talking about it, a 3-page filler for like one of those Rare Earth Chronicles.
That's right, you did. You did the Dr. January story.
Yeah.
If you know what we're talking about, that's a really deep cut, and that is a very, very niche thing. You bought that book at like San Diego Comic-Con like 11 years ago, and you're one of like 7 people who knows what we're talking about. So, but yes, that's like the only thing you and I have actually. I mean, we've worked on each other's stuff all the time.
Right.
You've given input on Dr. Atlantis and Shadow Tracers. I've edited every page of Doberman. You know, I mean, we've certainly worked together, but like we've never done an Alley Seals Tingley joint, is what I'm saying. So can we fix that, please?
We talk concepts all the time.
Yeah. And this, by the way, there's a little theater going on here because Jeff and I do have a story coming up, and we're going to give the elevator pitch to you guys, and this is the way we're going to do it. We're going to give the elevator pitch of this new series that does not have a title yet, and we're planning on doing it as a webcomic, right, Jeff? That's the basic idea. You still with me?
I'm still with you.
So, like, we're planning on doing it as a web series, this thing that we're going to discuss, right?
Yes.
And then take, you know, as is kind of the standard model right now, take story arcs and chunk them together into printed books.
Correct.
So, okay. So I'm going to begin, Jeff, but like at any time jump in when we discuss this, because this is one of the things I like about this is it's truly a collaborative story concept. We built this up from the ground up. So here's the deal. If you are a comic book fan, and especially someone who works in comics, there's this one unique, well, sorry, it's completely ununique, a universal experience, which is at some point you were 12 years old and you were making up superheroes and they were terrible. All terrible. And try it. Like, go to your comic book friends and say, so what's that superhero you made when you were 12? And
like 12 to 17.
Yeah. And usually they'll go, oh yeah, I totally made Overdrive. He's a man with a V8 engine in his chest. And like that's kind of cool, actually. I don't know if I would have come up with that at 16. But anyway, so like we've all got this library of the worst superheroes you've ever thought of. I know I do. I know you do, Jeff Tingley.
Absolutely.
So we were one day, it was at San Diego last year, actually. It's an anniversary. So, and we were just kind of talking about this and joking about it. And Jeff, where did this go in terms of a concept?
So this got me to this idea of what if at that age you could become that superhero that you were imagining.
Mhm.
Okay, great, but it changes you forever. Now that we're older, what's it like with like the thing that you thought was cool at 12 has dictated your life and you're now 35?
Yeah. And we just thought of that. What if we did this series? It wasn't about them as kids getting the powers. I mean, we talk about that a little bit, but it's what are the ramifications in the rest of your life now that you're Wolverine or whatever it is that you came up with. And we've been building the story upon that. And what I loved about the experience we had was we actually did a draft, like a basketball or football or Magic the Gathering draft, choosing the characters. And we came up with, we could each contribute 2 original terrible characters. And then the 5th character we would collaborate on. So I remember the first one I brought in was Plantora, who is a
Yep.
woman made of plants. It's not a ripoff on Swamp Thing. It's not, because her name is Plantora. And Jeff, what did you bring?
Then I brought up Dark Wraith,
Dark
who I
Ray.
swear wasn't a ripoff of Spawn, even though he had like a big alive cape and shot beams from his hands.
There you go. There you go. And I that brought me back to who. Well, who's the next character you came? Because I want to talk about my other guy in a second.
Rebound.
Rebound. Which that's a cool name right there, actually.
Right. Which in my original story, you know, when I was like 13, was like one of those huge muscle guys, like Colossus or Strong Guy, or you know, every
Yep.
super team had one. But he made energy fields around his hands that would bounce things back when he hit them.
Whoa. See, I'm making fun of it, but that's actually a cool superhero. It almost doesn't count. So we got Rebound. Now I came back with a character that is near and dear to my heart. A dude named Switchblade. What Switchblade dude? What is it? What's his deal? He has some switchblades and he fights with them. Close curtain. So Switchblade. We got Rebound, Plantora, Switchblade, Dark Wraith. But then we got to put something together, a new character, a bad character. Take it away, Tingley.
And I thought we needed an animal man, specifically some sort of like cat person.
Someone who decided that it would be the baddest ass thing to become a vicious animal person, an anthropomorph, like Wolfsbane or Feral from the 90s. And
Right.
so what if that person was a panther? Let's be honest here, a Thundercat. Anyone ever think there's anything uncool about Thundercats? This dude didn't, and he became one. But he can't change it. And so suddenly he is Mr. Panther for the rest of his life, hanging out at furry conventions, just trying to live his life. Mr. Panther. And with that, we come to the whole point of today's interview. Jeff Tingley, Mr. Panther. He's 30 years old. He's past his prime, and his prime was when he was 12.
Yep.
What's this guy gonna look like? Show us.
Let's start sharing screen.
Now, at this point, you work at almost exclusively digitally, like the rest of the artists at Rare Earth Comics.
Yeah, I find my work is cleaner, more ready to print this way.
So here you are. We don't really have much. I'm gonna, like, in my view, so it's a ripoff of Beast. It's a ripoff of Panthro.
Yep. And I just want to point out at this time, I have not or anything before. We've only just talked concept with the character.
Yeah, this is a character that is never. There's not any sketches, nothing. This is the first images we've had. So kind of explain to everybody what you're doing with
So I'm laying out some basic shapes for ideas. Right now, I'm giving him more of a flatter, broader head would. Like if I was to draw a person, I'd give them, more that type of shape. But I'm thinking, I'm giving him like a cat head, cat snout. So right now I'm just laying out those shapes as ideas for him. Now for build, yet whether or not I want to go like standing upright, very humanoid, or if I want to give him like that slight over with like, the double bent legs.
Huh. What are you thinking?
Uh, let's see. Let's play with like a slight hunched over variation for right now and see what we think that looks like.
Okay.
So, you can see I'm giving him a central back line with a curve. And right now there's no real details. I'm just building shape. Which is part of what I like about going digital is I can lay down as many shapes as I want. And none of these are going to matter in a little bit, except for something to build on.
Yeah.
Give them some long hanging arms.
And in these early sketches, because we're not going to get anything super polished today, but in these
No.
early sketches, what are you trying to figure out? This is the first time you've dealt with this character before. What are you trying to figure out in this drawing?
Among other things, one, a basic look for him. I'm going to want like costuming and whatnot. But two, I want to settle on a shape that I think I can draw panel after panel after panel.
Sure.
Like it's not as time consuming as say I was animating it, but this is a character that is going to have to be repeated multiple times.
Sure. So you're zooming in here. That's a really helpful function.
That's a very helpful function. It's sometimes tricky to get lost in the zoom, and then you realize you've drawn the details too small for anybody to see once you zoom back out. But so I'm giving him a cat. My biggest worry for the arc of the series in doing this, as much as I like this, is that it won't be expressive.
Sure.
Because cats aren't necessarily expressive.
How many cats in your apartment do you have looking at you right now?
Right now, looking at me, none. No, they're all ignoring me, but I do have 3 cats. So just out of curiosity, what if I was to play more with the human shape, but give it some cat-like features? Let's give him a little bit of a brow. And maybe I play with it this way. And give him a little bit more human shaped with some cat detailed face. Right. And right now they're all just very loose sketches, but we need to start making decisions. So right now it's just a bunch of bold ideas before I go forward. And normally that's what I do is just start with like a bunch of these loose sketches and just start playing with them until one starts to feel real.
And one of the things while I'm looking at I'm really loving the design in the larger one there. The ears look a little big. Do you think you might be able to bring those down a little bit?
Yeah.
And what a great thing about digital, you can just, that none of your decisions are final.
Right. In fact, here's the cheap way to do it.
Whoa.
I'm going to bring them down size-wise, I think I might want to widen them out, which is what I'm doing. Maybe something like that.
That's looking good. Now, we've just kind of done this down and dirty and haven't really talked about some. When you're creating a character like this, what do you need from your collaborator? Like, if this were a real pitch session right now, what would you need from me when you're trying to capture this character?
As we start developing the character, I'm going to need to start knowing, you know, what type of facial expressions is he going to make? What type of things is he going to be saying? As I'm designing his body, what is he doing? Because I'm going to design somebody who's like flipping and diving through the air a little bit differently than I'm going to be like drawing somebody who's just going to punch you in the face.
That's great to know. So, before we finish here tonight, Jeff, like, describe what your next stage would be working on this.
So I would lay down a bunch of the ideas and shapes here. And then what I'm going to do is blue line this layer.
Okay.
Add another layer and thin down my pencil a little bit. And then I'm going to zoom in even closer and start working on getting a little bit more of the detail in. And this is where I would do stuff like, you know, besides the eyes, like give him a little bit of a brow with eye whiskers. Or does that make him look too feminine? Do I, you know, when I design the nose, right now I've just got a triangle shape. Do I give him little cat nostrils or do I leave the triangle shape? And all of this is just me experimenting to see what I think it looks like, getting into a little bit more nitty-gritty details.
Wow. Man, that's so much fun to watch. And for me, I mean, listen, this shows my age right now. Like, I'm not exactly computer illiterate here, but I just remember all of those years of watching you and David and Carl and all the old Metro Bridge people from Hartford. I mean, doing this old school style. I mean, we call it blue line because you would draw in blue pencil.
Right.
And why was that? Why were the original breakdowns always done in blue?
Because it wasn't just blue, it was non-photo blue. So when you would copy it over, that blue wouldn't show up unless you got really heavy-handed with it.
There you go. Hey Jeff, can you stop as soon as you finish this next detail, can you stop sharing screen?
Yeah.
So here's what I want to do. We're going to end this right around now. For everybody at Comic-Con home, here's what I'm going to make this deal. We're going to stop this here, but Jeff, by Sunday, can we see the finished product of Mr. Panther here?
Absolutely. I'll need some input from you throughout the week, but yeah.
Absolutely. So tune in on Sunday. Look at the rareearthcomics.com. And on the Rare Earth Comics Facebook and Instagram. We're going to have the final drawing of Mr. Panther. Now, this might not be the final version that we use in the series, but you might do 7 or 8 of these before you come up with your final thing. But what you saw Jeff doing, we're going to see the final version of that. And remember, we're doing commissioned drawings all weekend. You want Jeff to draw you any character, any of the terrible, terrible superheroes you made up when you were 12, Jeff will do it. But really, Jeff, I want your commission book to just be filled with Mr. Panthers. I want 14 Mr. Panthers by the end of this show. So everybody, thank you for tuning in. Jeff, thank you for making the time and showing us your process. And happy Comic-Con, everybody.